Hello. Bl'Artagnan here with an Xtreme TCC challenge run for the Ice Reaper Lufenia. We have Garland, Tifa, Synergy, and Burst Weapons banned. So we're bringing an iBrv down strategy, similar to the one we ran earlier. This is actually a team I saw Indolent Lard post using a Burst Weapon for a regular TCC challenge run, and I said, that looks like an awesome team. I wonder if it can be done without a Burst. It can, but man, is it tricky. I spent most of this afternoon figuring out how to make it work. So shout out to Indolent Lard, by the way, probably one of the better content creators you're going to find out there. If you're not subscribed to him already, definitely subscribe to him. I'm going to link his channel in the description. Definitely one of the nicest and funniest people you're going to find in the community. So, what are we doing here? We dropped our Vincent and our pain calls. So now at this point they're going to be unbreaking every other turn, which is great. For the delay orb, I found it is actually possible to race the first orb. In Indo's run, he had to use the burst to get through the 80% orb phase. It turns out if everything goes just right with a blue Strago, you can pull it off. It turns out, when I say everything, I mean everything, because I tested it pretty extensively, and your summon has to be just right. Ifrit or maybe Ramuh. Odin can do it if the stars align, but it's not guaranteed. In fact, it's pretty rare from what I was finding out. And also, Edward needed to start. Well, at least whoever's carrying the Vincent call needs to start. I don't know whether Edward or Strago or whoever could have carried the call instead and it would have been fine, but yeah, trial and error. Good God. I'm not sure if this is the way I should have been spending my day, but it ended up being a lot of fun. I really enjoy this team. Kind of proud of myself for pulling the damn thing off. So you see here, we're trying to just kind of inch them backwards. We have managed to outrace the orb, which is fantastic. That thing, as you saw, got down to 1. It was really tight. So now we're trying to keep them pushed back, keep them off us, because as you know, that all attack is pretty nasty. Not so nasty now that they're out of their orb phase, but still pretty scary. So we're going to go ahead and use our launch pretty inefficiently just to get them unbroken, so that we can use a free Quasar. I could have used on a free C65 there to unbreak them, but maximizing those Quasars is actually really important. You're going to see Strago is going to be pretty spent by the end of this. The problem that Ramza has for Zero iBrv is he has very little AoE outside of his LD. So we actually end up eating that AoE attack I was trying to avoid. So we're going to go ahead and push him back another turn using the C65. But yeah, Ramza has a tricky time pushing folks back, or pushing 2 enemies back when they're unbreaking every other turn, since he's all single target. So we actually eat both of the attacks. Luckily, they've made Ramza a healer now, so that was great. I mean, I say that like it's a new thing. You know, he's been a healer since he got his LD, but you know, a year ago you couldn't have been able to do that. A year ago, 2 of these units weren't even in the game, so. So we are still just playing a really, playing a kind of finicky game of keep away here. Trying to be mindful of Edward's buff running out almost. You know, keeping an eye on Ramza's stacks and things like that. Taking advantage of those free turns where we can get him with Ramza, because the turn count also is going to get pretty darn tight. So you see here, I want to use the EX, which is why I used the C65 there, so that his LD buff doesn't run out. Gotta tell you, there were a ton of resets for this fight, just getting the turn order right. And also remembering to use Strago's first turn to C65, because I really wish they just gave him buff start. Man, that just annoying. So you see here, we've kind of played some finicky business to get this close. They're almost to 50% now, so we're going to lullaby them and let them take a couple turns, because these guys are fast as hell. So I'm just checking the turn count there, and the HP requirement to see if it's safe to switch Ramza out without healing. Just had to get greedy and use the EX there, since they're still asleep. And now, doing some mental math, calculating, just trying to figure out, should I break them with Bard's Song? Should I skill 2 to EX? How are we doing on health? Yeah, we're fine on health. At this point, I'm just doing some mental math here, and I didn't want dead space, so I paused it, which didn't really ended up just obscured the camera there. But I wanted to get another turn of the lullaby on them, or I wanted to keep the lullaby in place so that Strago could hit them without it falling off, so that they'll skip their next 2 turns. So we ended up using skill 2 with Edward into his EX there. Not a huge fan of it because it cuts into his auras, but you know, necessity. Now. We got the Chrono Trigger music playing. I haven't used this in a little while. I think the last time I used this music was the Dullahan Abyss, which is still, I think, my most viewed video on YouTube. After struggling with this fight for so long, I wanted to do something a little bit special to celebrate beating it, and I decided that busting this music out was the thing to do. Because it certainly, it felt appropriate by the end. That's a thing that may not always be apparent when with folks who post their runs. Is there's usually a ton of failed runs on top of the actual successful run that you finally see. Just something to keep in mind when you think to yourself, like, oh man, these guys are so good at this game, and I struggle. And it's like, no, the guys who post on YouTube struggle too. They just struggle offline and then post the success. I think it's a lot of social media is like that, but that's kind of getting philosophical, you know. So you see here Strago doing the damage. Still not quite capping. I'd hoped to have Garland out by the time we summoned, but the timing just didn't quite work, and I wanted to get that extra room with Ramza to make the most of his what he had going on. I found that if I brought Garland in and tried to close it out with Ramza, it didn't go well. I had to actually leave Ramza in as long as possible and bring Garland in as late as possible, which feels kind of weird. But we're about as late as we're going to get, I think, so let's do it. Speaking of Garland, actually, another struggle I had was running out of Garland friends from all the attempts and trying to tweak the summons and various things. In the end, Yoshi Pasta gave me the Garland I needed to clear this. I think I actually did it on my first try too. So shout out to Yoshi Pasta as well. I'm also going to link his channel because, man, there's a solid player who puts up a pretty nice Garland in the friend support area. So we're taking very close advantage here of the paralyzed with Ramuh. In the end, I was finding with Ifrit, I was running just a bit short. It was a much comfier time getting past 80%, but this part got a lot touchier. And so I figured, hey, more battery from Edward, higher, max brave caps, and you know what? That paralyze might just be the thing I need, and I think that ended up being it. Gotta say that this fight was pretty fascinating to me because if you bring Garland to it, it kind of just gets stomped. But if you don't, it gets a lot more interesting. And I appreciate fights where you can adjust the difficulty like that by just little tweaks here and there, where it doesn't become a complete clusterfuck. I'm looking at you, Lufenia. But yeah, I enjoyed this fight quite a bit. Good for stomping and good for kind of really testing yourself a little bit if you wanted to place some restrictions on. So what we do here, this is actually kind of dumb. I think if I'd done one more C65 with Edward there, this plan would have worked. My plan with the C65 there and the C65 here was I wanted to try to stall A into unbreaking so Ramza could return, break A, and let Edward lullaby. As you can see, that doesn't quite work, and I end up feeling kind of like a goober. Obviously, we're so far along that I'm not going to give up on that, but definitely not what I was hoping to have happen. So now we'll lullaby them here now that they've unbroken. Thanks. Getting pretty close to the 60-turn limit, and we're out of good Strago skills at this point. Not that I don't love me some Brave 2 Death, but it's not the damage we're looking for in this environment. Gonna go ahead and Enervate here. Almost killed A. B is very close and is launchable. So we got one turn, basically one turn left before they go into their wait mode and most likely survive. So we're gonna have to hope this does the trick. Brave to death, launch, and there we have it. TCC Extreme Challenge for the Ice Reaper done. No burst, no synergy, no garland, no Tifa, no fear. Goodness gracious. But yeah, again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Adios.